Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Spilling the Tea on GovCon. I'm Teresa Moon, Director of Market Strategy for Parabolas. We are the preeminent partnership for government contractors, providing holistic support that includes a line of credit to fund your growth. The purpose of this podcast is to assist small businesses with success in the federal marketplace by introducing them to industry experts and resources that they may not otherwise know about. Today, my guest is my great friend, Angela Dingle, CEO of Women Impacting Public Policy, also known as WIPP. Angela is also a small business owner and founder of Ex Nihilo Management, a DC-based firm specializing in IT governance, risk management, and cybersecurity services. She is passionately supporting the hearing impaired community as well, having also founded Deaf CyberCon, which supports deaf women wanting to explore, identify, and excel in careers in cybersecurity. Not to be left off, though, this woman wears many hats, but she is also a New York Times best-selling author of the book Discovering Your Girl Powers. And I'm so proud of you because you know that we're great friends and I love you, but reading that gives me chills, girl. How do you have time to do all of that? And welcome.
Oh, no. Thanks for having me. And I don't often hear that read, so it's giving me chills too.
Maybe I should share that with you. So now when you get introduced, now you can use that one.
But there you go.
Well, I know how busy you are because we have a personal relationship. And so I'm grateful for you being here today. There's so much going on in the world that pertains to the world that we live in terms of professional life. And the work that you do and the work that WIPP does to support women-owned small businesses is a top priority for us together. So I wanted to bring you in so you can not only talk about that, but then let people who may not know about you personally know more about, other than these phenomenal credentials that you have next to your name, talk to them about how you got into government contracting. And you've got an extensive experience prior to all the things that I just mentioned. So if you wouldn't mind humoring me and letting people know that are listening today who don't know who you are a little bit more about yourself, please.
Sure, I'll see how quickly I can do this. Although I live in Washington, D.C. and lived here for a really long time, I do not consider myself to be a Washingtonian because I'm from Toledo, Ohio. My father was in the military, and when he got out and became a civilian, he was working here in Washington, D.C. As a matter of fact, the day that I was born, he was on a train coming to D.C. to go to work in the Pentagon. He had been working there, but he was returning to work. And eventually, so that eventually led us to move here. We moved here, me and several of my sisters. I have 7 of them. We all had various different careers in the federal government. My youngest sister retired from the government last year and do work in computer science, which led me to cybersecurity. And so that's how I got started. I got my first federal job when I was 15 years old, and I've worked for them all. I've worked for the Secret Service, I've worked for Treasury, I've worked for FDIC, and I could name several agencies. So after having graduated from college and working in IT for a number of years, after I got to the sense where I wasn't making the kind of money that I thought I should make, it became easy for me to do the transition over and start a business in government contracting.
You say it became easy, but anyone that's done it knows that isn't true. You were ready to stop making money for other people and putting it in your own bank, I'm sure, more than anything.
There you go.
Being an entrepreneur is not easy. And it's wonderful that you have that background, all of it included, because it really helps your ability to lead from a position of authority with women impacting public policy. Because as an advocacy group, you're helping people, and people need people who know what they're going through to look toward as someone that can advise them going forward. And I think that's the thing that I've always noticed that's so important about the way that this organization functions, is that there are a lot of really professionally and personally successful business owners that are members of the group who truly make it part of their mission to give people a hand up. And you lead the way wonderfully like that. And I want to get in depth about it because right now, we as WIPP members like myself and corporate sponsors like Parabolas and people who are engaged in the women-owned small business community and looking to build a platform that is firm and steady enough that it goes, ages and ages beyond where we are today. And that's part of what you guys do with your work. I want to talk about, a little bit about WIPP's mission in particular, because it is very catered towards specific goals. And then how does this work together and differentiate from other organizations that support women in business? Because there are several and you guys work together as well, but there's a difference between each of them.
Mhm. Teresa, you made a really good point about the type of women that are leading in WIPP and even my role. I think that I have a unique privilege to be able to serve because I have been a business owner. So I get to bring the experience that I had in government contracting as a business owner to the work that I'm doing from a nonprofit standpoint. So if I'm speaking on behalf of a member or talking to Congress, I'm speaking from a position of experience and not just serving as the leader of WIPP. And WIP's mission really is about advocating for women business owners. We're the leading national nonpartisan advocacy group for women business owners. WIP will be 25 years old this time next year. So I'm pretty excited about that. I stand on the shoulders of some powerful women that have been around for a long time advocating on policies to help women to advance and to really make sure that their voice is heard. Years ago, we talked about having a seat at the table or making sure that your voice was heard. And WIP is kind of setting some of those tables. I heard a woman the other day say, if you're not seated at the table, then you're on the menu. So we want to make sure our folks are not on the
It's a
menu,
great,
right?
great way of looking at it for sure.
Yeah. And so we have three core principles within WIP. It's advocacy, community, and education. So I'm certain we'll have an opportunity while we're together to talk about what we do from an advocacy standpoint. Community, in that, just like you talked about, I mean, you are an amazing part of our community. We bring together resources that really help our women business owners. And you don't have to be a woman to be a member of WIP, but to bring our business owners the resources that they need to be successful. And so when you talk about what that looks like when working with and differentiating from other organizations, we have what are called corporate partners like Parabolas who help us to make sure that if a member is trying to grow their business or scale their business or even start a business, that we have trusted partners that can bring resources to them for them to be successful. We also have what are called coalition partners. These are other NGOs, non-governmental organizations who might have a mission that is aligned along with ours or policy priorities that match with ours. And it may also be that their legal structure, they might be structured as a charitable nonprofit. And so they can't go out and lobby for themselves. So we partner with them and we make sure that we bring their voices along. So WIP has about 75 coalition partners. And that allows me, when I go to Congress and say we represent the voice of 14 million women business owners, that's what I'm talking about. We're bringing all of those businesses and those organizations along with us when we come to the table. When it comes to differentiation, WIP is one of several organizations in what I call the women's business ecosystem, and each of us plays such an important role. So when you think about something like certifications, the government has a woman-owned small business certification. There are partners who businesses can work with outside of the government to get their certifications. And some of those organizations have other missions. So if we talk about WEBEN, for instance, Women's Business Enterprise National Council, they're the certifying body for the woman-owned certification in the private sector, but they are also one of the recognized certifiers for the woman-owned small business program in the federal space. Their education within WeBank is very specific to what they do. And WIP doesn't have to do that for them. We partner with them. We let them do the work that they do that's really great around helping women business owners to learn how to scale and grow their leadership. And we do education around government contracting, things that are specific to public policy. So those are some of the ways that we differentiate. And we've got really good partnerships with like the Hub Zone Council, who is also near and dear to our heart. That is just an amazing network of business owners. And the leadership of the Hub Zone Council have had just partnered with WIP for years to make sure that our members are getting the benefit of both of the things. So Hub Zone might have a policy priority that they're taking to Congress, and they'll either send us an email or pick up the phone and call and go, hey, can you guys join us, right? Add our voices together because that's what matters when it comes to making changes from a policy standpoint.
Mhm. I mean, when we stand in numbers, it definitely makes our voices heard, that's for sure. And I appreciate you bringing up Hub Zone Council because, as you know, I'm on the board of directors for them as well. And, being able to work with both that organization and WIP has provided such an elevated level to my professional life and my personal life because you just meet good people who are in it to help people and to do the right thing and to find ways and bring solutions together to really make a difference in a positive way. And I think that's probably where a lot of the education comes into play. And that's a good segue into my next question for you is what are 2 to 3 challenges that you see women owned small businesses in particular facing And what are some of the ways that WIPP supports during or through these challenges?
Uh-huh. So WIPP every year produces something called an economic blueprint. It is a set of policy, priorities, and recommendations that are important to women business owners. So we've had an economic blueprint for years. The 2024 economic blueprint is on our website, and the 2025 is in its draft form. I'm putting the final touches on how we want to make sure that we voice those policy priorities. There are a number of challenges that women business owners have faced over the years. Access to capital is and continues to be an issue for women business owners. I was sitting on a panel last night, an international panel talking about access to capital, and it's only been 30, maybe 40 years since a woman could go into a bank and do some banking on her own behalf. While that's been changed from a legal standpoint, there's still banks that are asking women to bring a male counterpart with them. So that's a huge issue for us. So in that economic blueprint, we not only talk about that as a priority, we also provide recommendations. So we've got an access to capital framework that says, don't just figure out ways to give women money. How about you start to fund CDFIs? Or how about you create more VCs that are led by women business owners? How about you change some of the regulatory requirements that negate a woman's status as a woman-owned business if she brings on VC funding from an organization that's not led by women? So access to capital is one. The set aside programs and the small business programs in the federal marketplace are not all equal. And so for years, we've been asking for them we've been asking that we want women to have the same opportunities that other small business designations do. So that's been a big one for us. And as we think about, every 4 years we get new administrators, and our board of directors is always looking to see what's important to the current administration. So as we transition from the priorities for the Biden administration into what's important for the new Trump Vance administration, there are phenomenal opportunities that arise in areas of artificial intelligence, manufacturing, and energy. So our economic blueprint this year talks about those because those are industries that are not necessarily led by women. I've been in technology for many years. I've worked on research papers associated with AI. AI can be biased, and we want to make sure that women's voices are heard, that they understand where the dollars are, they understand how to train up their workforce, and how they need to be using that technology so that they can be successful. So that's because
I love that. Well, thank you. And you having had such a long professional career within IT is phenomenal in and of itself, but being able to stay on the cusp of all the breaking technology. I was talking to someone yesterday about how being behind the times like I am, technologically speaking, by the time I figure out how to use something, it's already been replaced with something that's better than it. So I find myself being obsolete more than not. So I might have to come and take some lessons from you.
you are
That's a
definitely going to
conversation
have
for
to
another
fix
day.
it.
So there's been a bunch of additions to the WIPP family, if you will, the WIPP organization, in terms of programs. I wanted you to have the opportunity to talk about some of the newer programs and how they fit into the overall offering of the organization itself.
I'm really excited about our newest program, which is called WINGS. It's the WIPP Initiative for Navigating Government Success. What a tongue twister that is. But WIPP gives you wings is
I love
how we're
it.
referring to it. It really is. So for many years, WIPP has had an amazing partnership with American Express and the Small Business Administration to provide an educational program called Challenge Her. That program has been free and open to the public. That program is 12 activities throughout a year, 8 of them virtual and 4 in person, which is when you and I get to see and spend time with one another. But really helps emerging and experienced businesses understand how to do business with specific federal agencies, right? We might have our partners from EPA or education come over and talk to us about doing business with them. The WINGS program is a virtual program, and it is not based on curriculum. It really is leveraging our partnerships with agencies so that people understand how to do business with them in a way that's different than the work that we do under Challenger. We're looking to expand that outside of just WIC members, so you don't have to be a member in order to participate in that. And we'll do some form of programming every month in that virtual program. We also have something called a Procurement Center of Excellence. That is under our 501c3. That's our charitable nonprofit. One of our board members, Courtney Fairchild, and those of you that are in GovCon will recognize Courtney in Global Services as they do some great work around GSA schedules and proposal development, gave us some seed funding for us to start the Procurement Center of Excellence, and that is curriculum-based education. So we'll do a 6-part series for people that are contract ready, right? This is going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly about how you get down to the nitty gritty as opposed to the high level that we're able to provide within an hour during a challenger program, as well as some master classes. Our coalition partners, some of those women business owners are much larger. And so they're not necessarily looking for a set aside in a government space, but they do want to do business. How can I leverage this innovation and technology or research or agile work that they've done in the private sector and bring that into the public sector? And so it's really about what's the difference in the pricing? How does that look between if I were pricing for the private sector versus the public sector? What does that look like in terms of contract negotiations, terms and conditions? So we're really excited about those two educational programs.
And those are differentiators because not all the organizations offer educational programs like this. And, not to keep harping on it, but it's not expensive to become a WIPP member. It's very inexpensive for the amount of access that you have nationwide you guys really make a point to find out where the needs are and where opportunities are and holding events like Challenge Her in those areas where there's a high concentration of people who will benefit from you taking it on the road and being there. You guys have done great with picking different spots. So it's not always DC. A lot of organizations either stay in the DC area and they do their one conference a year and it's, somewhere where people will want to travel to. But then there's organizations like WIT who go where the demand is and not just where the good weather is for a certain time of year. We have been places that have been very, very cold and very, very hot. So
Yes.
we're not
Yes,
always
we have.
picking those places based off of their weather.
You bring up a good point because people do ask us why don't we come to a specific location. It's really about if you're going to show up, if you're going to spend the time and money to show up, we want you to be in an area where we know there's some opportunity. So there is a formula behind how we decide which cities that we're going to go to in partnership with the SBA and with American Express. And I mean, I've talked about our educational programs, but WIP's core policies around advocacy, community, and education allow us to leverage all of those components. So we have an advocacy and policy news update that happens every month. So our members are hearing firsthand. Sometimes we're getting votes that come out of Congress before they even show up on the news. Breaking news is what we call them. From a community standpoint, we are able to bring in our coalition partners and our corporate partners to talk about what's happening in their organizations. Like we just had our corporate partner Meta on to talk about what's happening in AI, and we'll have our pharma partner on to talk about what's happening with respect to health care and health equity and what that looks like for the bottom line for a business owner, and then the other educational components that I talked about.
All important subjects for business owners to be aware of too. So that's wonderful. So let's get down. Advocacy is the biggest bulk of why WIPP is doing what they're doing. And so let's talk about some of the recent advocacy advancements that WIPP has led the charge on and has achieved. There's goals there. So what are some of the successes that we can share with people who may not be aware as well?
Yeah, well, one of the things we were really proud of last year, and we've already gotten confirmation that we'll be able to do a repeat this year, is, we just came out of a pandemic. And so we weren't able to take our members on the Hill. We could get them to talk to us virtually, but we couldn't get in the room with them. And it's so important for business owners. I tell people all the time, you either need to get into business or get into public policy or get out of business. And what I mean by that is there are policy decisions that are being made on your behalf every single day, but you need to be hearing that directly. You need to let someone hear your actual voice. And so our ability to go on the Hill and sit down with the various committees, sit down with members of Congress and their staff and really hash out what it is that we want and how we might go about doing that it is priceless. So last year we were able to have our legislative buy-in and get back on the Hill. That was really great. This year, we're doing that on June 9th and 10th here in Washington, D.C. So members at a certain level will be able to join us, as well as our coalition partners and corporate partners to go back and talk to the folks on the Hill. And then just recently, what all is happening with executive orders and things that are happening last year, there was a bipartisan bill that was put forth. So self-certification in the Women-Owned Small Business Program has been gone for a number of years, but there was a loophole. And large businesses were kind of slipping in through that loophole. We've been working to get that closed for some time. So the House did a markup on that bill just about a week or so ago. WIPP provided supporting testimony to that. And I'm happy to say that passed with bipartisan support. And so we are looking forward to closing that loop. So for anyone that might question, self-certification is not permitted. You have to be certified through a third party or directly through the Small Business Administration. So when a large business tells you that you can mark a box that you are certified as a woman-owned small business, that's not actually true.
Right.
So we've closed that loop.
Don't believe everything you hear, right? Well, a lot of what I'd like to accomplish today in terms of support is letting people in the community know what they can do to support. So, whether they're a small business, one woman shop, or they've got a larger business, how can people get involved and support what we're going to be doing over this year and the years to come?
Yeah, I mean, I really encourage business owners to do what I said, right? Get into public policy, especially now. This is probably my fifth appearance this week. So I was in New York with WeBank, with their New York regional partner organization. I was with the DC Chamber here in Washington, D.C. It's really great. DC Chamber, if you're in Washington, D.C., they have a women's business committee that's just amazing and led by two women business owners who are doing some great things there. And I say things like that because things are happening in your community and you need to be connected, right? So I'm connected with the chamber. The chamber is connected and knows that they can reach out to WIPP to get the latest and greatest information. Because in Washington, D.C., there's discussion about our budget that's being affected by conversations at the federal level. There's discussions about whether or not we'll have home rule. And our mayor has to repaint the street. Those are conversations that you have within community. And WIPP is a business community that gives you access to that information. So I'd encourage individual business owners to come and join us. We've got 3 levels of membership. You can go visit our website to find out more about those. For those who want to put your dollars where your mouth is, we're always looking for donations, both our charitable nonprofit and our trade association that you join. For large businesses, we've got a wonderful corporate sponsor package that allows you to get in front of our members and share topics that are important to you. One of the benefits that they get is that I'll come and talk to your women leaders. I'll come talk to your foundation. I'll come talk to you all and help you kind of think through how do you solve particular challenges around either policy or government affairs, or how can we work together to be able to solve issues. We're always looking for speakers. So Teresa, thank you for always coming and talking to our members and the people who show up for our challenge for events, because the work that you do is so important. And I think sometimes people think, well, I don't want anyone to sell to me. This is more about selling. This is about making you an informed business owner so you can make an informed business decision. So those are ways that people can get involved with us.
And I encourage everyone to. So if you haven't already seen it at the bottom of our screen because you're listening through one of the other streaming options, it's WIPP.org, WIP.org. Go on there, become a member, become a sponsor. You won't regret it. And make sure that you're staying in touch with the group as well about upcoming events, because there are a lot of them. And so that's the last thing that I want to talk to you about is, where can our audience see? You do a lot of virtual events, which are great because the people are busy, right? And it's not always easy for everyone to leave. So if you wouldn't mind sharing with us over the next couple of months, where can we see the WIP team?
Yeah, so you'll see me a whole lot of places for most of the major conferences that are in the women's space. So the WPO Women Presidents Organization, I'll be at the Enterprising Women of the Year award ceremony in Nashville. Our board member, Lynn Pachizuela, is being recognized for her leadership at Avanti Corporation. I'll be at the WeBank conference. And then WIP itself has programs that happen on a regular basis. So on a monthly basis, we have what's called Pro Table Talk. That is a member benefit, but it's where we bring in our industry experts. So we have people that are either corporate partners or coalition partners, and they give you the good, bad, and the ugly, expert information about them. We are lining up our challenge for dates for 2025, so just stay tuned for that. Wings is the virtual program that's every month. So our March and April dates have already been defined. You will see us at HubZone. You'll see us at the Government Procurement Conference. You'll see us. We just did the National Small Business Conference in New Orleans. So those are some of the places that we'll be.
And don't let her fool you, folks. She's everywhere. So we're lucky that we got to spend 25 to 30 minutes with her. And I very much appreciate your time because I know how busy you are. And I hope that this proves a benefit to supporting the WIP organization and all the fabulous women who benefit from being a part of it. And so I appreciate your time very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's always wonderful to be with you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And as always, we pride ourselves on sharing the most insightful and exciting people and information to help you better navigate your GovCon journey. If you like what you heard today, you can see all of our past podcasts, which are archived on our YouTube channel by the same name. Stay tuned for all of our future guests in the coming months as we help you grow to great heights in the year ahead. I'm Teresa Moon, and this is Spilling the Tea on GovCon. Have a great day, my friends.
There.